One could not help but recall that Lord Krishna said that when it comes to the months, he is the month of Margari. After his puja, in the wee hours of dawn, Periyava had spent the rest of the day visiting Kamakshi temple, granting darshan to devotees, and would be engaged in Upanishad discussion. One such day, a devotee and his friend Jagannathan went seeking his darshan. The devotee's friend had never been to the mud before. It was 8:15 in the morning. Periyava was sitting in his mena palanquin and absorbed in reading a book with the aid of a torchlight. About an hour elapsed thus. After having finished reading the book, Periyava then alighted from his mena. Since it was the first time, the devotee introduced his friend Jagannathan. It was not a formal introduction, and he must have just mentioned only his name to the Mahan. Immediately, Periyava asked him, "Don't you have a printing press?" To which Jagannathan replied in the affirmative. This was news to the devotee, for as far as he knew, their family only had a paper bag making business. Periyava beckoned one Kuppaswamy Iyer to his side and asked him to bring a particular book. When it was brought, Periyava gave it to Jagannathan and asked him to make 2,000 copies of it. Kuppaswamy, who was standing nearby, said that we already have 2,000 copies of it. Periyava explained to him that those books had some mistakes in them, and hence more were needed. But Kuppaswamy kept repeating the fact that there was no need for books that were already in the mattam. Then Periyava asked Kuppaswamy to fetch one book from the mattam and to compare it with the book that was just given to Jagannathan. Periyava asked him to compare page 18 on both the books. Then Periyava added, "First make sure it is there in that book." Finally, Kuppaswamy agreed that there were errors in the mattam copies and more were needed. What surprised the devotee most was Periyava's last statement. He said, "I found those errors in 1947 and had ordered those to be discarded. Yet you are bringing the same book to me." One more instance highlighted Periyava's prodigious memory. Periyava then started detailing more instructions to Jagannathan. Print 2,000 copies of the book. The picture in that book is to be printed in black at Paul & Co. in Lloyd's Road. Tell them that you are there on my instruction and finish printing the books as soon as possible. He further continued, "Neelakantal Iyer of Paul Corporation will immediately go searching for the book. I recall having seen it under his bed in a trunk. You may remind him if necessary." The devotee and his friend Jagannathan left straight for Lloyd's Road immediately on starting from Kanchipuram. Just as predicted, Sir Neelakanta Iyer went looking for the book. He found it under his bed in a trunk. In total, 2,002 copies were printed in all. They kept one aside and took the remaining to Periyava. Periyava asked, "How many were there in all?" They said 2,001. He immediately said, "I wanted only 2,000 copies, discard one." He then called the mattam manager and asked him to bring the mailing list. There were exactly 2,000 addresses in that list, not one more, not one less. The 2,000 books were distributed to those addresses. This was a lesson in disguise for the devotee and his friend Jagannathan. As his friend Jagannathan would say, Periyava taught us that whatever we do, we should strive for perfection in it. Hara Hara Shankara, Jai Jai Shankara.